Hey there, you guys, it's Irene here. I have been very slacking with my video the last little while. Things have been a bit nuts in the world of 2018, but I'm just going through some old emails and I found a question that I had saved, this was back in 2016, quite a while ago, from someone. And I'm not sure if this was someone in one of my programs or if this was someone from one of my other Facebook groups. I really don't know. But this was the question. It has to do with fear. And after I finish this little live thing, which might end up as a YouTube video, I'm not sure, I'm going to link an article I wrote titled The Importance of Not Fearing Fear. Because what you will learn as you do more work around the nervous system is that fear is not the culprit, fearing it is. And it's what we do with the fear that makes it stick or not. So this is the question. So she, I think it's a she, says, okay, so I have a question. When experiencing fear anxiety, how do I know if I'm releasing fear or creating more of it? Really good question. I'll say that one more time. How do I know if I'm releasing fear or creating more of it? So, one way we know is if we keep coming back to the same fear thing over and over and over again and nothing changes and we're in a loop, then chances are we're actually not releasing anything. We're just compounding it, pushing it under the rug. And unfortunately, a lot of the practices that we've been teaching in the self-help world are very coping based, they're very management based, they're strategies, they're ways to kind of trick the system into being okay and to staying in control, which is fine because that's all we've really known up until now. We haven't known any other way, at least in Western world. So here's the answer to this. I say practice. So practice. And of course, the first thing, number one, you have to practice the right stuff. So as I just mentioned, I said coping strategies like taking a deep breath, even a lot of the tapping exercises that people are doing, getting centered, trying to clear your thoughts. All of these things are what we would call management, coping. They're strategic in that they keep us in control, which for many of us we have to do. So we need to practice. But the question is what is it that we're practicing? So here's what I say. Practice and worry less, I'm just reading this verbatim, about whether you are releasing it, i.e. the fear, because that's in the future. Make sense? Our worry of what might happen, the feeling of the fear and then projecting about it, it's the future. Or we're maybe worried about something that we have stored in our body system from the past, right? The past. So it's not useful to get into that looping of worry. And I know that's easier said than done. So I say practice and worry less about whether you're releasing it because that's in the future, and focus more on what you feel in the moment. So right now, one way to even feel in the moment is to just notice, for instance, the ground under you, whether it's the feet in contact with the ground, your butt in contact with the chair. Maybe you look around and see what's around you. So that's one thing. So focus on what you feel, or I should also say what you sense in the moment, the actual body sensation. In other words, is there something tight? Usually with fear, there's a clenching, a straining, a bracing. And that bracing is us trying to not feel this horrible thing. Sorry for the shaky hand, right? It feels scary. We think it's scary, so we try to get away from it. We put the brakes on, dig our heels into the ground. So we want to feel the actual body sensation. Is something tight, strained? Is your breath held, right? Is your jaw clenched? Because that holding of the breath, it keeps us from descending into our organs, into our viscera, into our perineum, into the heart, into the lungs, which is the area where emotions live. Emotions don't live in the brain. they're interpreted in the brain, but they are felt initially in the body, right? Any child, any infant knows this. They know when something's not right. They're not thinking it, they're feeling it, and we need to get back to that. So we want to go into the actual body sensation. Is something tight, strained? Is your breath held, jaw clenched? Are you thinking about the future? That will all create more of it. And typically when we put our musings, our thoughts into the what ifs and the how will I ever change this, right? We go into problem solving, strategizing. So when we go into that, it screws us up. Instead of, can you just focus on the, oh, here I am. I feel you. I see you. I sense you. Here you are again. How can we engage with that feeling of fear in a very different way? Right? So if we can shift that focus around fear, get embodied, it's not about mindfulness. It's about feeling the gut, the heart, the lungs, the diaphragms, how things clench in the groin and the perineum, in that all these squishy parts of our body that hold emotion, right? So can we notice that stuff and then return to the contact of your body with the ground? Orient to that which is around you. So if you are just watching now, this is a question that I answered a while ago, and I just found it in my email, so I wanted to pop it here onto Instagram. But what I'm going to do as soon as I hang up from this is I'm going to post an article I wrote a little while ago on the importance of feeling our fear and not being afraid of our fear. So fear is not the culprit. It's what we do with it. It's being afraid of it. Fear is natural. If we didn't have fear, we'd be in a lot of trouble, right? It gives us the knowing that something might not be right in our environment. And when we have had past traumas that we have not worked on, we have not resolved, that signaling is off. And then what we have to do is we don't have a good interpretation of real danger, and then we end up getting into more dangerous situations, or we avoid any situations because we're afraid that something bad is going to happen to us, and then we kind of stay small, introverted, and not engaged with the world. So fear is important, we need it, but for many of us, because we haven't properly processed old fear, many of those fears are from our earlier years, our childhood. Even we learn them from our parents, right? The scripts that we're told and taught, that those people are not good, that person is bad, that area of the neighborhood isn't good, it's not safe to go here, don't drive in the dark, don't drive in the rain, don't eat that food, all these things that we are fed consciously into our brain. Couple that with body sensations that we've never learned to properly deal with by being with them, and then you have this recipe for a system that is utterly confused on what is safe and unsafe. We have a recipe for not knowing how to say no, not knowing how to say yes, right? Our sense of safety, something called our neuroception, goes off kilter. So one of the best ways for us to be safe in the world and to actually navigate it in goodness and in engagement and in solid, strong boundary and life force energy is to work with our past fear and to work with it in the moment and know how to work with it, as opposed to, as I mentioned earlier in this video, managing it, controlling it, doing all these practices to keep the fear at bay. We don't want to push it under. We want to bring it up. But for some of us, we need to bring it up slowly in a titrated way so that we're not feeling it all at once. So like I said, I'm going to post an article up on my Instagram feed. I'm going to link it. If this video is now being watched somewhere else, look nearby and you might find that link. If not, go to my website, look for the article on the the importance of not fearing fear and the importance of feeling fear so that we don't get stuck in fear. I know that seems like a cycle, but it's true. Thanks, you guys, for being here. I see some faces and thumbs up. Hope you're well. Have a wonderful day. Take good care. Bye.